now we're looking at Module 9, which is about other issues that organisations may need to consider. What's covered in this module?
This module tries to pick up some of the issues that weren't dealt with elsewhere in the modules. But if I could start with perhaps the most important of all the sections in any contract, and which is the specification. What are you actually going to deliver? Well, in the model, there isn't anything in that section, so it's down to you and the Tier 1 provider and perhaps the Ministry of Justice to work out what's to go in there. Now, you may be drawn to setting out what you think is the best possible outcomes, but what you have to put there is only those outcomes that you can absolutely guarantee to deliver. You may well aspire to much better outcomes than that, but don't specify them here. Put only what you can guarantee to deliver. And do remember, this is a contract that's probably going to require you to make year-on-year cost savings, so you have to bear that in mind in specifying it. You also have to think about the fact that the contract says that any service has to be delivered to best business practice. How are you going to evidence that you are delivering that service to best business practice? You need to go out perhaps and benchmark other organisations or find data that supports your view that the service that you are delivering is to that standard. So this is a key provision, one in which you need to think strategically about.
So what kind of implications might this contract have for an organisation that uses volunteers?
I think there's going to be quite a big range of issues for organisations with volunteers. If volunteers are key to delivering this service, you're going to have to communicate with them, carry them along with you and ensure that they're on board in every way. This is particularly important because the contract will require a high standard of service delivery. Volunteers are just that, they're giving you their time. You need much greater reliability if you're now delivering contract outcomes. How are you going to assist volunteers to take that on board? So there may need to be a change of culture and maybe need for some further training with volunteers.
And what are the implications for an organisation's policies and procedures?
There will be implications for a wide range of your policies. Let's take an example. You may have document retention policies. It's really important that you recognise that you're going to have to be able to evidence delivery of the outcomes in the contract, perhaps years after the contract is finished. So do your document retention policies allow you to do it? There are explicit requirements in the contract for you to have policies in certain areas. One would hope that you had business recovery policies anyway, but here you're going to be asked to show what you've got to ensure the continuity of the service in a range of various disaster situations. And then there will be issues, again, where I hope you already have policies, but issues such as confidentiality. There are very strict confidentiality requirements inside this contract. Do your own policies and trainings reflect the needs that are going to be required by this contract? So a pretty broad range of issues.
And what about audit requirements?
Well, there's a specific audit requirement in the contract, and I suspect that the final version, because we're still only looking at a draft, will be more concrete. You need to be sure that you can comply with it. So it may require you talking through with your finance staff whether the information is recorded in a way that meets that audit requirement. You may need to talk to your auditors about the implications of it and whether it's going to increase your cost. And some organisations may be wanting to try and ensure that only data which actually relates to the contract gets revealed and that other work that they do is kept separate. And that again may require changes in practice.
And there's a section at the end of the agreement called Miscellaneous. Is that important?
Well, as a lawyer, I have to say that all the provisions in this agreement are important. But I have also to say that there's a lot of stuff in Miscellaneous which, frankly, you can just buzz through. But there is one very important provision, and that's a clause titled the Entire Agreement Clause. What this provides is that the contract, once you sign it, contains within it all the key information which will be used to sort out any issues that arise. The problem that occurs is very often in discussions to create a contract, people are told things, given reassurances, and otherwise led to enter the contract by things which don't get reported and recorded into the contract. So it's really vital that if you've been told anything that's important, that it crops up somewhere in the contract, that someone confirms that it's the case. Otherwise, you may face additional costs. So can I give an example? Supposing you were running a day centre and you were told, don't worry, there's a neighbourhood transport scheme that will get all the people to the place, so you don't have to worry about that. That neighbourhood transport scheme goes bust, and suddenly you'll find that you're paying for taxis to get your clients to your day centre. And if you don't get them there, you're not going to meet the output requirements. You didn't get any reassurance that if extra cost occurred because this service disappeared, you'd get paid for it, and so you won't.